What Texans don't realize and appreciate is that public education has been in a belt-tightening mode for several years. We have been whittled on, we have been nibbled on, and now they're amputating, folks. When you amputate, you change the appearance. They're taking arms, legs, and other vital organs now. And we cannot have this. The utmost question, I think, on everyone's mind is, how did we get in this shape? I'm going to attempt to tell you, my straightforward vision or understanding. Our state, first of all, has failed over the last 2 decades to prepare a long-term plan to fund our schools. That's almost unforgivable. In 2006, the legislature put in place a funding plan, and I was sitting there on the House floor when they said this is going to be transitional. And I bet we got some English teachers out there that can tell me what transitional means. To me, it meant how to get from A to B, and it meant a short period of time, okay? It's not going to be the plan we live with. It's going to be a transitional plan. It froze the revenue for our school districts at the 2005 level, and 6 years later, we're still there. And instead of coming up with a solution, now we have a proposal to reduce our funding below the 2005 level. We did not have a financial downturn during the 2009 legislative session, and still no progress was made toward working on and putting in place a long-term solution to fund our schools. You have to understand that I think the public schools of Texas are our crown jewels. And we have to protect them as such. They're what give us our spirit. They give us our foundation. They give us our workforce. They prepare us to meet whatever the future might send our way. Year after year, politicians have been able to pat themselves on their proverbial backs, while school boards and local administrators have taken the flak for unpopular moves due to lack of funding. In 2006 is when our financial problems started. Someone come up with the idea that we were going to have a tax reduction. Probably no one in this audience would be opposed to a tax reduction. We have funded public schools in the state of Texas with property tax. I know since 1948, I don't know when it started, but I may imagine it was before then, but it was the backbone of our school funding system. We decided in Austin to reduce the property tax by 1/3. The maximum maintenance and operation tax was $1.50. We reduced that rate to $1. Austin, the governor, the legislators, our representatives, and our senators promised you, the people, to replace that 50-cent reduction in taxes with state revenue. They promised. Now they are reneging on that promise. The plan was to replace that tax with another tax. They replaced it actually with three taxes, three small taxes. Those small taxes have not performed. They have not created the revenue equal to the revenue that was lost to the tax reduction. We are currently suffering from a $5.5 billion annual deficit. Now, folks, that's bad. $10 billion of biennium deficit. The bad thing is not the deficit. The bad thing is that it is going to continue. It is a structural deficit in our system, and it must be fixed. There is, by the way, no plan to fix it. This was a bait and switch, and our schools are the victims. In February 2011, the University of Texas and the Texas Tribune did a poll across the state of Texas. 82% of the respondents opposed cuts to public education. Yet, here we are looking at an $8 billion cut in our funding of public education. I come to you as a school teacher. I loved being a school teacher. I served as a superintendent and now as a consultant, and I know a little bit about how schools are funded. And I want to tell you something. From what I know about how schools are funded, those numbers I read you about the schools in this area, that amount of money will cripple these schools. You will not recognize your school at that level of funding cuts. Our school funding system is broken. We have decided that some children in some places are worth more than children in other places. That's terrible. Our politicians believe there are too many administrators. I'm going to tell you, I was one, and I probably still think like one. My wife says I do. I looked at the data in this area. You have about 4% of your staff are administrators. That is not one-to-one, as some people are doing sound bites with today. We have to now accept this big blow of the proposed cuts. The only reason for the cuts that I've heard from legislators is that the people went to the polls last November and they elected candidates who had promised to cut budgets. I was one of those voters, folks. But when I was told that we were wanting to cut bureaucracies, salary perks, pork barrel, waste, unneeded bureaucrats. I wasn't talking about kindergarten teachers. We have a local school board at every school district. That local school board's, I think, number one task is to take the money provided for that school district and use it to produce a school district that reflects the values and priorities of your community. We do not need people in Austin telling us each and everything to do. There's one more misconception I want to have this opportunity, now that I've got this microphone, to straighten out. Our schools are not wasting money. My wife was a pre-K teacher, or she's a retired pre-K teacher. She's still a pre-K teacher. She's just retired. And I'm going to tell you, no one, including the superintendent, worked as hard as she did. We're not wasting money. The media is sometimes publishing things that would make you think that we're wasting money. Let me tell you just one little fact that I hope you will consider. Texas is number 44 in the United States in per child spending on education. 44 out of 50. Now let that soak for a minute. 44 out of 50. With these cuts, we're going to be 50. We're even going to be lower than Mississippi. Is that bad? Whoa, that's just not right. I can't accept that as a Texan. But now I started out talking to you about what a good job we were doing. Our funding is number 44 out of 50. Our academic progress is number 17. The people of Texas, the people of our school districts represented here tonight, are getting a good bang for their buck. There are many factors involved in delivering a quality education program to your citizens and your community. Believe me, money matters. When you go to hiring teachers and you're close enough to the Dallas suburbs, money matters. When we receive cuts at the level of these proposals, we will not be able to attract the best teachers. We will not be able to do many things that will end with a high quality education. Bottom line, with these cuts, students will suffer. And Fred Hayes can't keep that from happening. By your attendance, you're showing you're proactive and your care. I just challenge you to go out and do something about it. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to pick up that telephone. I spend a lot of time down in Austin, and they tally those phone calls. And you need to ring their bell tomorrow